Hi, this is the Best of Chess and FM Master Bojan Jovanovic. For today I will show to you tactical element of pinning for an easy level. First I will tell you that piece or pawn is pinned when that piece or pawn is protecting king from direct attack, but that is only job which that piece can do in that moment, so that piece is unable to protect other pieces, pawns or squares. I also want to say that piece which creates pinning can be queen, rook or bishop. And in this example, that is bishop on b3, which is creating a pinning of this pawn on f7, and that pawn is pinned for protection of this king on g8. That also means that this pawn cannot protect this bishop on g6, and this bishop on g6 is completely unprotected. And after we concluded this, we can see that white can easily take this bishop on g6 without any consequences, and that is the power of pinning. Let's go for our first practical example for today. This is first practical example, and we will start with our usual process of thinking, and let's start with the quantitative analysis of the position. We can see that white has queen, 2 rooks, bishop, knight and 7 pawns, and on the other side black has queen, 2 rooks, 2 knights and 7 pawns. So from material point of view this position is equal. And now we will start with qualitative analysis of the position. We can see that our king on g1 is very safe, so he is strong, and the queen on e7 is very active and creating many threats in black camp. Rook on e1 is supporting this queen on e7 and also controlling this open e-file, and rook d3 is ready to come on e3 and to make a doubling of the rooks. And also there is a possibility that this rook can come maybe on h3 and to take a participation in attack on the black king. Bishop on h6 is creating half pinning by attacking this rook through this knight on g7. And knight on g5 is also ready to use some bad geometry between black pieces. So position of white pieces are very active. And let's start with analyzing of black position, and we can see that this king is very weak because of activity of white pieces, and queen on d8 is very passive, and also together with this rook on f8 she is creating some bad geometry. Rook on a8 is undeveloped, and knights are very passive also. So we should make a plan how to use these minuses in black position and pluses in white position. And okay, we saw that there is some bad geometry between black pieces. We saw that there is also half pinning, but can we make pinning, and can we make this bad geometry even more useful than it's now? I think we can, and we will achieve that by playing queen f8. And after queen f8 we're forcing black to take this queen on f8, and then this knight on g7 is pinned for protection of king on f8 from direct attack of bishop on h6, and this knight is actually does not protecting anymore this square on e6. And also we can see that now exists some bad geometry between this queen on d8 and the king on f8, and we should use it by playing knight e6, and we are giving a check and attacking the black queen at the same time. And black is forced to make a move with his king, let's say king f6, and after king f7, then knight d8, and white has a big material advantage, and he's almost completely winning in this position. Let's go for our next example. In this example, white is on the move, and we can see that there is already exists some pinning. And okay, first we will use our process of thinking, and then we will see how to use this pinning. So we will start with quantitative analysis of the position, and we can see that white has queen, rook, knight, and 5 pawns, and black has also queen, rook, knight, and 5 pawns. So material is equal, and now we will go for qualitative analysis, and we can see that white has a very good position of his king on g1. Queen on e5 is very strong, controlling all the board, and also creating pinning of this knight for protection of this king on g7. Rook on f1 is at the moment passive, but this rook can be easily activated by playing rook d1 and coming on d7 and even maybe d8. Knight on g3 can be activated by playing knight e2, f4 and d5, or by playing some sacrificing move like knight f5 or h5. On the other side, we can see that black has bad position of king on g7 and knight on f6, and also we should mention that black queen on a8 and black rook on h8 are also very passive, and if black is on the move, then he will use this move to activate some of these pieces, and then position wouldn't be so bad for black. But white is on the move, and we should try to use this pinning, and that we must do very quickly. So some forced line must exist, and we should try to with the sacrificing of this knight, and move is knight h5. And after knight h5, black is forced to take this knight with his pawn, and then queen g5 check. Black king is forced to come on f8, and after this move, white is attacking this knight, and he can recapture his material. And black queen is attacking this rook on h8, and black has two options to protect this rook with king by playing king g8. But then after rook d1, white is unstoppably treating to play rook d8 and to attack and the queen and the king. So this is bad move, king g8, and another option for black can be to play rook g8, and that is much stronger move than king g8. And after this move, white will continue with his plan of developing pieces, and white plays rook d1. Now white is threatening to play rook d8 and to give a check and also attack the queen on a8. So only way to protect this threat for black is to play king e8. And after this move, we're using this bad position of king to improve position of our queen by playing queen e5 check, king f8 forced, and now rook d7. We are in control of 7th rank and we are threatening to play queen e7 check and to take on f7. And black has two ways to protect this threat. First one is to play rook g7, and after this move white can play queen e7, and after king g8, rook d8, not just black queen is going to fall, but after queen d8, it's mate. So rook g7 is not so good move. Another option, which is much better for black, is to play queen e8. And after this move, white should try to use bad position of black king again, and that is move queen c5. After this check, black is forced to play king g7 and then queen g5 check. And after this check, black has two options again, and first one is to play king f8. After this move, queen h6 check, rook g7 only move, queen d6 check, king g8, and rook d8, black queen is going to fall. Again, power of pinning. Another option, instead of king f8, is to play king h8, and after this move, once more we will use bad position of this king, and we will play queen f6, and after rook g7, rook d8, we can see this big power of pinning. All of black pieces are pinned, and black queen is going to fall and white is completely winning. Let's go for our next example. This is our next example, and we will start with our three-step process. We will start with quantitative analyze. We can see that white has two rooks and two pawns, and on the other side black has rook, bishop, and 4 pawns. So one rook is equal as bishop and 2 pawns. So material is approximately equal. And now we'll go to qualitative analyze. First, we must notice that this is some sort of endgames, and in endgames, king should be in the center of the board and very active. And our king on e4 is very active and attacking this pawn on e5. Also, rooks are very active. Rook on a7 is controlling 7th rank and also attacking this pawn on a5. Rook on g1 is creating a pinning of this bishop for protection of the black king. And on the other side we can see that black king is on the bad position because his bishop is pinned for protection of king on g6, and rook on b5 is also very passive because this rook is protecting this pawn on a5 and this pawn on e5. So white is on the move, and white should try to find a way how to use these minuses in black position and pluses in white position. And okay, this pinning is obviously the biggest minus in position of black. And I also want to say that this pawn on c3 can be very dangerous because he's very close to this promotion square, and white have to be very quickly. And okay, we should try to use this pinning as I said, and that we will achieve by playing h4. After h4, this bishop is attacked twice, and this bishop cannot be protected, but Black must try some counterattack by giving a check after rook b4. Now king e5, rook h4. Now black eliminated this threat of taking bishop on g5 for a moment, but white has another pawn to attack this bishop on g5, and after f4 we can see that this bishop is again in trouble and black is forced to take this bishop with his rook. Now we can see that this bishop is protecting his king on g6, but also is protecting this f4 rook, and we should try to use this bad position of king, bishop and rook, and we will achieve that by playing rook g7 check. And after king g7, which is forced, white will play rook g5, and we can see that we are giving a check with our rook, and also with our king we're attacking this rook on f4. And after some random move, let's say king f7, white will play king f4, and white is completely winning because this rook is going to take all of these pawns, and then mating will be not a problem for white. Let's go for our next example for today. This is our example, and in this example we will see that even in the endgames pinning can be pretty useful tools for saving a game, even if we are completely lost from material point of view. And in this particular position we can see that if black is on the move, theoretically black is winning, but unfortunately white is on the move, and white should try to find a way how to use pinning to save a game. And okay, it is very obvious that white should give a check to black king, and okay, rook f2 is very logical move. And after this move, black has option to go on e file or on g file, and after king g3 we're giving another check, rook g2, king h3. Now probably there is no check, but we have one trick, and that is a stalemate, and we will give a check again, rook h2. And if black try to take this rook, then it is a stalemate, it's a draw. So black has to play with king and not to take this rook on h2. And after king g3, for instance, rook g2 check, black has again two most obvious option, that is to play king f3, and in this case we again have one trick, that is rook g3 check, and black is forced to take this rook on g3, because if he moves his king, then this queen on e3 is going to fall. So king g3, and it's a stalemate, it's again a draw. So after rook g2, another option is king f4, and we are in the position like on the beginning on the example, and of course we will play again rook f2. And now only way to try for black to play for a win is to go on e4 or on e5, but e file is important. But in this case black has a tactical element of pinning, and he will use that by playing rook e2, and black queen is going to fall, and after, for instance, queen e2, king e2, it's a draw. So even in this, from a material point of view, completely lost position, by using this pinning, white succeed to make a draw. This was last example for today, and this was a lesson about pinning for an easy level, and I hope you enjoyed. For the best of chess, this was FIDE Master Bojan Jovanovic. See you soon.